Well, namaste. Well, I'm going to read one that I had given as somebody had asked about Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. And so this is about that exchange, okay? So my student was saying, coming from my guru, it is said there's a tradition where a guru was appointed guru by their guru. Furthermore, Maharishi did not take full sannyas vows or full vows within the tradition of Guru Dev. Maybe he was a secretary. It's not normal for a guru to entrust the innermost knowledge to a secretary. Okay. And the person says, well, here one must say that neither you nor your guru are fully knowledgeable about this tradition. See, it's very simple to take one tradition where one comes from and then project on another tradition how things ought to be. And it's nice to have email, Yahoo Messenger, and internet at one's disposal and using it for some instructions some traditionally minded people wouldn't do. But then why doesn't your guru look up a simple article about the Dasanami Sampradaya on Wikipedia, and she would know that Saraswati order, but only Brahmins can be made sannyasis. Now, why would he assume that I don't know that? Okay, but it's clear that he's made this assumption that I don't know about that Sampradaya, nor that I know anything about Mahesh Yogi. Okay, so we'll continue on with this. And I said, look, I know this type of tradition. I'm initiated into this type of a tradition. Okay, so you've read about it. I said the brother-sister ones to hear are the Bharati Giri Puri. And although I'm not within the Saraswati Akhada, I've spent time with sadhus that are. And trust me, in this we have the same basic practices and knowledge. All 10 come down from Sankacharya, and all 10 are basically Shaivite. As far as Jyotimat is concerned, Giri is the name associated with this mutt. Traditionally, the Saraswatis are from the south. So do I need to read up and find out about this lineage? I live this lineage, which I was doing at the time. And he goes, well, this would resolve her argument. I said, there's no argument. I'm commenting from living within the tradition of being a fully initiated renunciate that's lived not only here, but also within this sect in India. He said that Maharishi Mahesh Yogi was Guru Dev's secretary doesn't mean he was just employed versus being a student. I said at that time he was a brahmachari. It's known absolutely that he was not a fully initiated Swami. Undoubtedly, he was a student there, as many are such nowadays. Brahmacharis that are in the process of learning about the tradition before formally being inducted into it. This is a common practice. And he can say that, well, anyone can see in the YouTube video, he was speaking in front of Guru Dev, and he's shown on photos showing the first president of India around in the ashram. So don't tell me he didn't have the trust of Guru Dev. I'm not saying Swamiji is totally wrong, but I do see that she takes her own path as sort of absolute. I said, my path is the same tradition as the one he's supposed to be speaking from. This is what you don't understand, okay? He may have been showing the first president around the ashram, but this proves absolutely nothing. The problem is you've only read about the traditions and haven't actually lived them. So my student said, my guru said that in her case there is one being groomed now for this position, but this one has taken sannyas, and it's simply a flow that this person is selected. My guru's general comments are, this is how a guru is appointed, not by wanting to be guru or declaring oneself to be one. He said, traditionally this is the case. Yes, in my tradition here, I have somebody that if something happens to me, they will take over. Okay, they're being groomed for that. Okay. I said, and yes, but there's no buts. This is the way it's been and continues to remain. And he says, but look at the controversies in many traditions, Hindu and Buddhist. Very often the succession is not clear. I said, look, succession was not clear when it came to Guru Dev. That mutt had no heir for over 100 years. Guru Dev was chosen and approved by the other Sankacharyas. That's true. But there is no way, not anywhere, that a Sankacharya is going to appoint a brahmachari that's not even a full swami as the one to carry on as a guru. He may have given him blessings, but he most assuredly will not appoint him to buck the whole of the tradition. And what you're putting forth would be exactly that. He says, well, there may be contradictory statements of the guru, like in the case of Muktananda. I said, Muktananda was also not held up or appointed. I have this on full reliability with one that was with Nityananda at his passing. Nityananda left his body by will and was quite clear as to why. This is another matter, though, I will not go into at this point in time. Okay? He said, or simply missing public instructions, or the tradition has a certain restrictive format, like in the case of Gurudev. I said, look, I know the restrictions, what they are in this tradition. I also know what mantras are given. I know the ins and outs of this tradition, as far as what the Dasanami traditions do and don't do. Did you not know that we have a secret language that only initiate sadhus speak to one another? This way we can distinguish who is a sadhu versus who has adopted the clothing, who is what's called a nakali baba. Okay? There are other secret practices which are clearly known to truly initiated, which general public has no knowledge of. And I'm not within liberty to speak of them openly, as this would be a violation of my tradition. But there is no way a full initiate would be wearing white. And while he may claim Guru Dev as his guru, like stated before, there is no way a full initiate, and most certainly a Sankacharya that holds the rules of the orders intact, is going to appoint a half initiate as a guru. He says, therefore, I think your guru's assessment is somewhat restrictive. I said, you can think what you want. You may read what you want. But until you actually are initiated into one of the 10 Dasanami orders and actually have lived in India, within that tradition, there's no way you can establish fact from made-up press. And there's a lot of made-up press with Mahesh Yogi. Okay? Notice it's not Swami Mahesh Saraswati, nor is it Mahesh Giri, nor Mahesh Bharti. He may claim to be a part of these traditions, but no way is he initiated into it. And once again, let it be reminded that the mutt in the north is that of Giri, and he most certainly could have become a full initiate. He said, I also agree largely with the critics of Mahesh Yogi's public antics, with the critics of many that focus on the movement shifted to all these side issues, etc. So you can see part of it. Do you really think that any sampradaya would stand behind any of this? Does it shed good light on the tradition? Then my student said, my guru started a TM Yahoo discussion group, and there were other posts on this subject. So I said, I am from two lineage, Giri and Puri. I have connection with 2 of the 10 Dasanami divisions. Even in the US, I still have ties to the Malibu Temple, which is connected with the southern Kanchipuram Mutt. In September, we were initiating a few into sannyas through that mutt. Okay. And he said, well, obviously not. She's a Westerner. How could she have been made a Swami in the Saraswati order of the Dasanami Sampradaya? Lucky otherwise, she would also be a self-appointed guru. I never said Saraswati. Okay. This guy's got Saraswati on the mind, like it's the only sampradaya. Okay. It's only one of 10 of the Dasanami tradition. Okay. I said the Juna Akara, in fact, has had women initiates and does allow them for years. The Archaya, is located in Haridwar. I know many of the sadhus that are around Rishikesh, Haridwar, and Badrinath. My first sadhaka was a sadhu living in one of the caves in Badrinath. Most of the Dasanami's traditions have been wanderers. They don't live in ashrams. Traditionally, while one is seeking, they're only to remain in one place for a maximum of 3 days. This is so they don't build up attachments. During the rainy season, though, they may remain in one place and you give whatever teachings you have to the people in that area. Now, though more and more sadhus are building and staying in transient kutiyas for a time, the huts, when living outside one builds and maintains a dhuni. This fire is a representation of Shiva. It's kept with great respect. Unfortunately, so many in this tradition have gone the way of taking charas and talking bullcrap most of the day rather than doing the internal sadhana that's required to enter realization. In Haridwar and Rishikesh, this Swami was very much respected for the fact that I'm not a smoker of charas nor of ganja, and there are a very few that are actually keeping the tradition minus the drugs. And they're becoming fewer and fewer. Okay. So my suggestion is that you go to India, spend time with the sadhus and sadhvis within the Dasanami traditions, and then you'll find out with more clarity just where Mahesh Yogi comes from. The Dasanamis are the ones who during the Kumbh Mela are sky-clad. Sans clothing. We carry the danda as a symbol of upholding the tradition and will fight if need to be to protect it. And it also represents that we are of the one divine being. There is such a disconnect between reading about the Dasanami traditions and actually living it. I feel the tradition needs to be updated, especially in context of living within the US. Even in India, things are going through a change. But saying this before making changes within a tradition, one has to first understand the foundations of it. So yes, for many years, I did wear the saffron, was a celibate, okay? Continued in that tradition. Okay? was initiated into the tradition. Okay, have a very long initiate name, Kaliyudamanandagiri. So, Kaliyudamanandagiri, it's a very, long name. Okay. And the reason I took sannyas is a very long, complicated reason for that. Okay. But yes, I understand the tradition. Okay. Again, that's another reason I look at Nityananda, and he's a total travesty. He makes a mockery of what it is and what it's not. Okay, 100%, and that's why I continue to stand up and speak out. Okay, so I will leave this here, but that is the information I gave on Maharishi Mahesh Yogi to a person that was in transcendental meditation. I understand what he gives, the practices he gives, and they had nothing to do with the traditions of the Dasanami traditions or Shaivite traditions. Absolutely not. Okay, and all the double speak that he did, again, had nothing to do with understanding any of that tradition. Yes, okay, he was a brahmachari there, and he was starting to learn, but no brahmachari is going to be promoted and given the place of a guru by the head of the order. It 100% will never, ever, ever take place. Namaste. Have a great evening. Bye.